27, 28. 34. 4. Consider also Satan's offer to Jesus at Mount 4. 8. Another action appearing to have similar legal flavor was walking across the land or entering it for the purpose of taking possession. GE 13. 17. 28. 13. In certain ancient documents, the number of trees on a piece of land was listed at each real estate sale. Compare GE 23. 17, 18. Custody. Legal responsibility came when an individual promised to keep or guard a person, animal, or thing. GE 30. 31. Reuben, as the firstborn of Jacob, was responsible in the case of Joseph's disappearance. GE 37. 21, 22, 29, 30. The custodian was to give sufficient care to what was in his charge. He had to restore animals stolen, but not those that died of themselves or that were lost through events beyond his control, such as a raid by armed sheep rustlers. If an animal was killed by a wild beast, evidence of the torn animal had to be produced to clear the custodian of responsibility. GE 37. 12-30, 32, 33. X 22. 10-13. Slavery. Slaves might be purchased or might be such through birth to slave parents. GE 17. 12, 27. Slaves could enjoy a very honored position in the patriarchal household, as was the case with Abraham's servant Eliezer. GE 15. 2. 24. 1-4. Law of God to Israel. The Law of Moses. Jehovah gave Israel the law through Moses as mediator, in the wilderness of Sinai, 1513 BCE. At the inauguration of the law at Mount Horeb there was an awe-inspiring demonstration of Jehovah's power. X 19. 16-19. 20. 18-21. Hope 12. 18-21, 25, 26. The covenant was validated by the blood of bulls and goats. The people presented communion offerings, and they heard the book of the covenant read to them, after which they agreed to be obedient to all that Jehovah had spoken. Many of the early patriarchal laws were incorporated in the law given through Moses. X 24. 3-8. Hope 9. 15-21. See Covenant. The first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis through Deuteronomy, are often referred to as the law. Sometimes this term is used with reference to the entire inspired Hebrew Scriptures. Generally, however, the Jews considered the entire Hebrew Scriptures to be composed of 3 sections, the Law of Moses, the Prophets, and Psalms. Luke 24. 44 commands that came through the prophets were binding upon Israel. Jehovah was identified in the law as absolute sovereign and also as King Otextoi Acute Miritra Longo. Theocratic government. Jehovah God is the supreme sovereign. X 19. 5. 1 So 12. 12. Issa 33. 22 King to sit on Jehovah's throne, representing him. 1 Ch 29. 23. To 17. 14, 15 Other officers. Chieftains of tribes. Chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens were selected on the basis of their fear of God, as well as their trustworthiness and incorruptibility. X 18. 21, 25. New 1. 44 Respect was due to all who exercised God-given authority. Officers, priests, judges, parents. X 20. 12. 22. 28. To 17. 8-13 Religious obligations. These were summed up in the greatest commandment in the law. To love Jehovah with one's whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. The 6. 5. 10. 12. Mr. 12. 30 Worship was to go only to Jehovah. X 20. 3. 22. 20. The 5. 7 Love should be a powerful motivating factor in one's relationship with God. The 6. 5, 6. 10. 12. 30. 16 All were to fear God, so as not to disobey him. X 20. 20. The 5. 29 God's name was not to be taken up in a worthless way x 20. 7. The 5. 11 They could approach him only in the way he approved u 3. 10. La 10. 1-3. 16. 1 All were obligated to keep the Sabbath x 20. 8-11. 31. 12-17 Congregating for worship to 31. 10-13 All males were required to assemble 3 times a year. Passover and Festival of Unfermented Cakes, Festival of Weeks, and Festival of Booths to 16. 16. La 23. 1-43 Man who deliberately neglected to keep Passover was cut off new 9. 13 Supporting priesthood Levites received the tithe, or tenth, of all the produce of the land from the other tribes new 18. 21-24 Levites had to give to the priesthood a tithe made up of the very best of what they received new 18. 25-29 Offering of sacrifices Heb 8. 3-5. 10. 5-10 Various offerings outlined in the law. Regular burnt offerings the chap 1. New chap 28, communion offerings the chap 3. 19. 5, sin offerings the chap 4. New 15. 22-29, guilt offerings la 5. 1. 6. 7, grain offerings la chap 2, drink offerings new 15. 5, 10, wave offerings la 23. 10, 11, 15-17 Practices of false religion forbidden idolatry x 20. 4-6. The 5. 8-10 Making cuts in one's flesh for the dead or tattooing one's body la 19. 28 Planting a tree as a sacred pole to 16. 21 Bringing things detestable, devoted to destruction, into one's house to 7. 26 Speaking of revolt against Jehovah to 13. 5 Advocating false worship to 13. 6-10. 17. 2-7 Going over to false worship to 13. 12-16 Devoting offspring to false gods la 18. 21, 29 Spiritism, sorcery x 22. 18. The 20. 27. The 18. 9-14 Duties of priesthood In fulfilling their duties, the priests were assisted by the Levites. New 3. 5-10 Teach the law of God to 33. 8, 10. Mao 2. 7 Serve as judges, applying divine law to 17. 8, 9. 19. 16, 17 Offer sacrifices on behalf of the people la chaps 1-7 Use Urim and Thummim to inquire of God x 28. 30. New 27. 18-21 Membership in the Congregation of Israel Membership in Congregation of Israel not limited to those born into the nation Persons of other nations could become circumcised worshippers Such alien residents were bound to keep all the terms of the law covenant la 24. 22 Restrictions limiting membership in Congregation of Israel No man castrated by crushing testicles or having male member cut off to 23. 1 No illegitimate son or his descendants to 10th generation to 23. 2 No Ammonite or Moabite evidently males to time indefinite, because they would not extend hospitality but oppose Israel at the time of the exodus from Egypt to 23. 3-6 Sons born to Egyptians as the 3rd generation could be admitted to 23. 7, 8 Judicial system laws governing legal cases highlighted Jehovah's justice and mercy. Judges were given latitude to show mercy, depending on the circumstances. These textoi acute miritra longo and protected the welfare of each individual Israelite judges priests, kings, and other men appointed as judges x 18. 25, 26. The 16. 18. 17. 8, 9. 1 Chi 3. 6, 9-12. 2 Ch 19. 5 Standing before judges was regarded as standing before Jehovah to 1. 17. 19. 16, 17 Hearing cases Ordinary cases were submitted to judges x 18. 21, 22. To 25. 1, 2. 2 Ch 19. 8-10 If lower court could not make decision, Case would go to higher courts x18. 25, 26. 1 Chi 3. 16, 28 exceptional or hard cases that were taken to priests. Cases of jealousy or unchastity of wife new 5. 12-15 when witness charged another with revolt to 19. 16, 17 when a violent deed or one causing bloodshed was committed, or when decision was hard or it was disputed to 17. 8, 9. 21. 5 when man was found slain in field and murderer could not be identified to 21. 1-9 witnesses at least 2 witnesses required to establish truth to 17. 6. 19. 15. Compare Joe 8. 17. 1-5. 19 hands of witnesses were to be the first to come upon guilty person in putting him to death. This was deterrent to false, hasty, or careless testimony to 17. 7 testifying falsely perjury was strictly forbidden x20. 16. 23. 1. to 5. 20 if false accusation against another person, false witness would receive punishment schemed for accused to 19. 16-19 bribery, partiality in judgment bribery prohibited x23. 8. to 27. 25 perverting justice forbidden x23. 1, 2, 6, 7. to 19. 15, 35. to 16. 19 holding a person in custody was done only when case was difficult and had to be decided by Jehovah 24. 11-16, 23. New 15. 32-36 punishment strokes. Limited to 40, to avoid disgraceful beating to 25. 1-3. Compare to Co 11. 24 death by stoning. Then body might be put on a stake as one accursed to 13. 10. 21. 22, 23 retaliation. Retribution, a like punishment la 24. 19, 20 damages. If a person's animal damaged the property of another person x22. 5. 21. 35, 36. If a person kindled fire that damaged another's property x22. 6. If a person killed another's domestic animal at 24. 18, 21. x21. 33, 34. If a person unintentionally appropriated to his own use something holy, such as tithes or sacrifices la 5. 15, 16. If a person deceived an associate about something in his charge or a deposit in hand or a robbery or something found, swearing falsely concerning these things la 6. 2-7. New 5. 6-8 cities of refuge accidental manslayer could flee to nearest one new 35. 12-15. The 19. 4, 5. Joe's 20. 2-4 Then trial was held in jurisdiction where incident occurred. One found to be an unintentional manslayer had to live in city of refuge until the death of the high priest new 35. 22-25. Joe's 20. 5, 6 A deliberate murderer was put to death new 35. 30, 31 Marriage, family relationships, sexual morality. The law safeguarded Israel by preserving the sacred status of marriage and family life. Marriage, first performed by Jehovah GE2. 18, 21-24 Husband was owner of his wife, but was answerable to God for how he dealt with her. To 22. 22. Mao 2. 13-16 Polygamy was permitted but was regulated so as to safeguard wife and her offspring. To 21. 15-17. x21. 10 Marriage was compulsory after seduction unless father of girl forbade it. x22. 16, 17. To 22. 28, 29 Levirate marriage was the arrangement in which a man married his brother's widow if his deceased brother died sinless. The man failing to do so was reproached. To 25. 5-10 Marriage alliances with aliens were forbidden. x34. 12-16. To 7. 1-4, but marriage with captive women was permitted. To 21. 10-14 women who were heirs of land were to marry only within tribe new 36. 6-9 divorce-only husband was allowed to divorce for something indecent on wife's part. He was required to give wife written certificate o textually acute miritra longo. Incest. An Israelite man could not marry any of the following: his mother, stepmother, or a secondary wife of his father. 18. 7, 8. 20. 11. 22. 30. 27. 20. His sister or half-sister. 18. 9, 11. 20. 17. 27. 22. His granddaughter. 18. 10. His aunt, either his mother's sister or his father's sister. 18. 12, 13. 20. 19. His aunt by marriage, either his father's brother's wife or his mother's brother's wife. 18. 14. 20. 20. His daughter-in-law. 18. 15. 20. 12. His daughter, stepdaughter, stepdaughter's daughter, stepson's daughter, mother-in-law. 18. 17. 20. 14. 27. 23. Brother's wife. 18. 16. 20. 21, except in levirate marriage. 25. 5, 6. His wife's sister during his wife's lifetime. 18. 18. An Israelite woman could not marry any of the following: her son or her stepson. 18. 7, 8. 20. 11. 22. 30. 27. 20. Her brother or half-brother. 18. 9, 11. 20. 17. 27. 22. Her grandfather. 18. 10. Her nephew, either her brother's son or her sister's son. 18. 12, 13. 20. 19. Her nephew, either her husband's brother's son or her husband's sister's son. 18. 14. 20. 20. Her father-in-law. 18. 15. 20. 12. Her father, stepfather, mother's stepfather, father's stepfather, son-in-law. 18. 7, 17. 20. 14. 27. 23. Her husband's brother. 18. 16. 20. 21, except in levirate marriage. 25. 5, 6. Her sister's husband during her sister's lifetime. 18. 18. Penalty for incest. Death. 18. 29. 20. 11, 12, 14, 17, 20. 21. Intercourse during menstruation. If a man and a woman deliberately cohabited during menstruation, they were cut off in death. 18. 19. 20. 18. Husband who unwittingly had intercourse with wife during such uncleanness, perhaps at unexpected beginning of menstruation, was unclean 7 days. 15. 19-24. Parent-child relationships. Parents, especially fathers, were commanded to teach children God's law. 6. 6-9. 20-25. 11. 18-21. Issa 38. 19. Children to honor parents. 6-20. 12. 21. 15, 17. 19. 3. 5. 16. 21. 18-21. 27. 16. Wearing dress of opposite sex to deceive for immoral purposes was prohibited. 22. 5. Sodomy carried death penalty for both persons involved. 18. 22. 20. 13. Bestiality resulted in death for person and beast. Text 22. 19. 18. 23, 29. 20. 15, 16. 27. 21 Indecent assault. Woman in husband's fight grabbed hold of other man's privates, punished by amputation of her hand, instead of penalty of like for like, out of Jehovah's regard for her reproductive powers and her husband's right to have children by her. To 25. 11. 12 Business practices. The law encouraged both honesty in business dealings and respect for the home and property of others. Ownership of land was allotted to families. New 33. 54. 36. 2 Land not sold permanently but reverted to owner at Jubilee. Its sale value was based on the number of crops until Jubilee. 25. 15, 16, 23-28 If there was a sale, nearest kinsman had right to buy. 32. 7-12 The state did not have right to seize one's land inheritance for public purposes simply by paying compensation. 1 Car 21. 2-4 Share of Levites consisted of cities and their pasture grounds. Of the 48 cities allotted, 13 were priestly cities. New 35. 2-5 Jos 21. 3-42 Field of pasture ground of Levite city could not be sold. It belonged to city, not to individuals. 25. 34 If man sanctified set aside the use or production of part of a field to Jehovah's sanctuary use, priesthood, the standard for estimating its value was that the area of ground seeded by a homer of barley would be worth 50 shekels of silver. The value diminished proportionately according to number of years left until next Jubilee. 27. 16-18 If sanctifier wanted to buy it back, he had to add 20% to the estimated value. 27. 19 If he did not buy it back but otextoi acute miritra longo, inheritance firstborn son inherited double share of property. 21. 15-17 When there was no son, inheritance went to daughters. New 27. 6-8 If man had neither sons nor daughters, it went to his brothers, to his father's brothers, or to his nearest blood relative. New 27. 9-11 Scales, weights, and measures. Jehovah demanded honesty and accuracy. 19. 35, 36. 25. 13-15 Cheating was detestable to him. PR 11. 1 Debts at end of every 7 years, Hebrew brothers were released from debts. 15. 1, 2 Could press foreigner for payment of debt. 15. 3 Security for a loan. If a person took a person's outer garment as security for a loan, he must not keep it overnight. The poor often slept in the garment for lack of other bedclothes. X 22. 26, 27. 24. 12, 13 A person could not enter another man's house to get a pledge or something as a security for a loan. He had to remain outside the house and let the person bring it out to him. This maintained the inviolability of the man's domain. 24. 10, 11 One could not take a hand mill or its upper grindstone for security. The person then could not grind grain to feed himself and his family. 24. 6 Military laws. These laws regulated Israel's God-ordained warfare in the Promised Land. Wars of selfish aggression or conquest beyond God-given limits were strictly forbidden. Wars to be only wars of Jehovah. New 21. 14. 2 Ch 20. 15 Soldiers were sanctified before going into battle. 1 Sir 21. 1-6. Compare 15. 16, 18 Age of soldiers 20 years old and upward. New 1. 2, 3. 26. 1-4 According to Jewish Antiquities, 3, 288 12, 4, by Josephus, they served until 50 years of age. Exemptions from military service. Levites, as ministers of Jehovah. New 1. 47-49. 2. 33 Man who had not inaugurated newly built house or had